This video is a bit different. I failed to record the actual session. It only recorded like 2 minutes of the whole thing. Unsure as to why it stopped. So basically, this is just reviewing what I did. I do know what the picture is, but during this video review, I'll just put the picture up anyway, and just go through the motions of what I felt and what I described, which is better than nothing, and it offers some practice for analysis as well, and just to go over what you've got. Alright, so this is my admin page. So this is the usual format for it. Got your tag, date and time, your intent, emotional state, physical state. I practiced my ideograms, gestalts. So here we've got structure, subject, energetics, mountain, land, and water. Got a little doodle which I completed before I started my session, just to get in the mind into a relaxed state and just a simpler mindset to be able to receive the signals. So yep, here we go, let's do it. From the first one, I initially hesitated to do the ideogram. The second one, I kind of guided the ideogram to be created, so it actually turned out to be a subject. It didn't actually turn out to be a subject after all, but you know, let's just go through the motions. You can see the picture that's coming up, and it totally wasn't right, or there's no reason for it to be this. But anyway, so we got subject, first touch, soft cushion-like, gives away, not solid, ground-like. So when I probe the ideogram, and you can sort of feel some energy build up when you probe, and when you press the energy into the ideogram, I get a sort of a feeling of dispersion, of the energy dispersing. If it's something hard, like rocks or something solid, the energy tends to stay in the tip of the probe. You know, it doesn't abate. It doesn't disperse the energy which I'm sending into the ideogram. This one dispersed away, so I thought, okay, that's how you get the soft cushion-like, gives away, not solid ground-like. So this, I'm writing here that my elbow felt weak, so it got all tingly for some reason when I probed with my left arm, left hand with my writing hand. It got really weak. I'm not really sure what that was all about, but it felt like it didn't really, like it wasn't strong. It was opposite of strong, which was really weak. It's a really weird sensation. I've not really had that through. What else did I get? Did another probe. I felt fixed structural components in my hand. I felt a long, thin structure going through my arm, being described going through my arm down to my elbow. And also I felt structures in my back and in my body, especially across the back of my back. It just felt really structural, like there was beams connecting both my shoulder joints together. Back of shoulders, stiff, hard, long band. So that's how I described it. Some structure. For the texture, we've got bushy, weighted, thickness, heavy, covering. So as far as the texture of the scene, I just felt a lot of like thick type, bushy type material over my arms. I felt two strong structural elements underneath that bushiness, which is basically what this means. Just the long long stiffness up here. This is a diagram of my hand, so I usually put them like this, and the one with the stick is the pen. Anyway, if you didn't get that. For temp, I did 2 of them, so I had to try and articulate it good. Mid-back horizontal beam going straight across my back like a cold beam. I also felt 2 dots in my back. I'm not too sure why, but I did find two cold spots. Also in the front of me, really cold band across sort of the front of my belly that I'm sitting here, so I felt that as well. I also felt the right arm was cold, so this upper forearm was cold, so I wrote that down as well. Yeah, it's very, very unusual. Horizontal beams or paths are usually like paths for me. They usually show up as something that's colder, but in a sort of a long shape. So let's go up to colour. So blue, green, darks, yellows and greys. I think when I looked at the picture, I basically had all the colours of the pictures in it, so that was great. I really enjoyed that. Smell, open, airy, chilly, cold. Smell, warm spot and cold. Body smell, leather and warmth. That's what I could smell from that picture. I don't know if leather's really the smell, but it smelled like leather. And some body smells as well. Just complex smells where you get more than 2 and you can't distinguish between them. Under here, I've got cold structure in my back. So when I did this, it just felt like the back of my body was just structured out. I could feel beams and structure and straight lines and supports in my body, and mostly in my back. What else did I? Hearing, echoes, distant expanse. So it felt like it was a long way. I think that's the point of this one, in hearing echoes, like it's distance, a long way, so far away over there. I also felt an area that was flat, like it's a long way, but it's flat. It's over there, and it feels like a field. And that's where this the snapshot number 1 came from. I just felt like there's structures around this open field, but I could just feel like a blank slate in front of me. Something that's long, flat, expansive. In the picture, we've got the field in front of the castle. Or it looks like a castle or a keep. I'm not too sure how big that is. I'll probably look at it on Google Maps. But it's felt like that, like it. There was a field and there was things around it, and that's where these snapshots come through. Surrounded by bush, so along with this bushy covering type stuff, I could say it was the bush in the grass before you get to that keep or castle. Could be anything, but that's what I've associated it with. Let's go to page number 2. Alright, so the second page, we've got this little bit and this long bit. So I broke them up in 2. I could have kept it as 1, but I broke it up in 2. So we've got 1 as a structure and 2 is land or a flat space. So we go with touch with number 1, hard, solid, wooden, fingers in the hand, feel fixed. Yeah, they felt structured and fixed. They felt like something was coming out and going in my arm, like a thick, long wooden structure of some kind. What else have we got? Fixed long rod through finger into hand, upper arm. It's very stiff. Very interested. I couldn't associate that with anything in the camera. All I could think of maybe might have been some structural support inside, something you can't see. The touch for number 2, it very much came up with something covering over the top of the land. It's got cover over the top, so you can feel it on your arms. You can feel it that it's above your arm, not in your arm. Those are the feelings that you get. What I've got here is heavy, lots of stiff, some fixtures in ground, piles, things on top of it, on top of the ground. So if I'm probing that and that's the ground or the land, I'm feeling everything that's around that land. I sort of wondered if that fixtures were maybe like fence posts sticking into the ground, because I could feel things sticking into the ground. But that could be like buildings, piles, that sort of stuff. Texture for number 1, texture for the structure, feels like paint. Smoothish plastic, tough. So when I did the probe, I've got these things like bushy, like busyness, not business, busyness. So when I probed for the texture, it felt like my arm was being tingled, like my wrist was being tingled by something major. And when I took the probe off, it sort of subsided. But whenever the probe came on, boom, I would get tingling around my wrists. So I associated that, because I'm a structure, I'm thinking that something next to the building, like bushes or trees, are growing next to the building and are touching the building at certain points, or is on the building. So what have we got here? So tingles, busyness, activity, movement. So I felt that next to the structure. Bushes pushing up against my wrist, structure. Push up against wrist equals structure. Not only that, you've got the bushes that are actually growing on that keep and castle as well. So I'm not surprised that the bush felt like it was attacking the structure. It's actually growing on the structure. So I can only think that that's that bush entangling itself with that. So big tick, I suppose so. But we don't go on ticks, we go on everything. So 2 for texture, which is the land, smooth, cold, flat, and that's all I got. Now these pictures are the snapshots, so I won't do all those. So temp 1, which is the structure, I've got cool lower back, cool all over but warm inner. So you can feel the coldness around your skin, around your body. And not only that, you can feel the warmth under that coldness. It's sort of like a layering of temperatures around your body. I got one big warm spot in the middle and just coolness around the back, lower back type area. Can there be the castle or the keep? Who knows? We know it protects the inside. It's cool on the outside, warm on the inner. Probably a warm spot. You know, it's probably a fire. It could be anything really. And it's cool on the outer back. Temp 2, which is the land, cold right side. So not much there. I didn't really get much there, but I did get the cold spot. Colour, yellow, grey, darks, browns. Could that be the keep? Colour, warms, blues, darks. Smell, outside, dank, debris, leather and wood is for the structure. That I can understand. Leather and wood show up again. Smell, inside house. Just smelled like I was inside. But you write what you write. Hearing. So I've got a band across this left side. So that usually tells me there's a path or a driveway, or you know, just a path going somewhere. So that's on the left side of my arm when I'm referring to the structure. And in the photo, there's a path on the left side as well, which is great. That's what it's there for. Cold across, band across arm. So on the right side, not sure what that could be. That could be the keep itself. Hearing of number 2, head, wrist, and feet. Now this was weird. It felt like I had heavy weights on both my chin, which was dragging my head down. My wrists and hands had heavy weights and they were stuck to the table, and my feet felt like they were stuck to the floor. Like the 5 points, head, wrists, and feet, had heavy weights on it and they were stuck to the ground and they didn't want to move. It was the first time I've had that sort of happen. All I can think that might be is there are things stuck in the ground heavily, 5 of them, whether that be for foundations for a building or something else. There were 5 of them. So as far as hearing for the ground outside or inside the place, there were 5 points of interest. 5. Not sure what it could be, but there was 5 of them. Stuck in the ground, mounted in ground. Alright. Doesn't show up in the picture. Can't really confirm anything. But you do what you feel. You record always. So snapshot number 1, what I got here was, I got this giant large white building. Like when I closed my eyes and it formed the shapes behind my eyes. All I saw was this large bloody roof, large front face. Like the front face of this white building was ginormous. So I just put down large white building and drew the shapes that I could see. When I did the second one of number 2, this is what led me to believe that I'm probably, I don't know where I am. When I did the second one, it felt like I was looking at rafters or the ceiling of some giant church. And I could feel like rows of not chairs. I felt like there was something there in front of me and there was a long line of them. But most of my perspectives were of the roof and them trailing off down to sides. So that's what I put. So ceiling, looking up into the ceiling of all these strong beams. Let's go with number 3. So this one I divided into 2. This one felt like emotion, and this one felt like structure. But I treated them as one, so I only did one because it takes ages to do a session and go through the motions for each. Touch probing produces tingled sensation, and right arm movement, arms feel movements. Yeah, it just felt like something was moving in my arm, so I had to write it down. Felt like there was a cold spot. Under texture, squeezing fists, long structure, cold outside of arm. So it felt like someone was squeezing something, so I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. What else we got? We got temp. It was warm on one side of the arm, cold on the other side of the arm. And here, the warm and cold shared a spot together. That was pretty much a first time for that one too, so I'm not too sure what that one is. Colours, yellow, greens, blues and reds. That's a good spread of any colour. Smell, floral, I could hear. I could smell, very, very sweet smells. Hearing, it felt structure. I just felt this overwhelming sense of structure, like it was a big building of something, and that was felt throughout my body. Your body just feels like real rigid, and you can feel beams crossing the internals of your body, and I think they sort of represent the support beams and that sort of stuff. Yep, so just another sort of bushy bush in a sort of a format, so it was in that sort of perspective. SS snapshot number 2, big giant front of building again. So that big giant front of building being that keep or that castle. I had some bushes on the side that I tried to draw, and all I had was these large, long, sort of flat, front-facing structures. So, page 4. So this is the start of the matrix. So basically we go from here, we do sort of quick fields, quick sensation, sensories on the matrix. So centrals, basically open space, buildings, and I sort of had a guess at it. Is it a farm? Magnitude, I got here, I did a ping, and I pinged out. Not only did I feel things that surrounded this field, but it went beyond the structures as well. There's these little things sort of raised up and said, hey, there's something here as well. But the field went further than what was detected. So whatever was around here, it felt like it was massively expansive. Small structures, still spreads. So when you do the ping, if I'm enclosed, usually I just feel it being wholly enclosed, like I won't get it spreading out beyond that structure. But this one, it not only hit that structure, but went beyond those structures. So that's how I got that. Topological. So topological is sort of like shapes or 3D structures. So here is an opportunity just to get some words out that come to mind. So wide, expanse, structures, field, cover, trees, and bush. Which sort of describes the picture, but can describe millions of other pictures, but that doesn't matter. At least we were able to point it in the right direction. Energetics. So this one, I went into sort of an internal awareness thing, and I tried to describe the energetics of the site through my body. So I got three points of energetics. A small, cold left side. I don't know what that means. It just said it was a small, cold left side. Cold, flat structure at the back, and it was tall. It went up from my butt up to the middle of my back. That cold flatness. Now there was a cold flat right structure as well that went across my forearm, which I did note down as well. As to what they are representative of, I'm not sure yet, but I think they might be the buildings, but you know, we got lots to learn on further central sort of stuff on that, so you just mark them down. Subjectives, as far as I couldn't get any emotions from the site at all. Looking at the picture, there isn't anybody there, really, and I'm not surprised. Even when I did that, the subject on number 1, I didn't really pick up any emotions from any of the scans. Like, you tend to know when you're scanning people and when you're scanning objects, because the ones that are objects are sort of flat and they feel like their dimensions, whereas when you feel a person, you can feel bits of all sorts coming through. So that came through. So no subjectives, no people, no emotions. The physical example, I basically feel out in front of me sort of a 3D diagram. If anything, it's sort of like topo and physical object joined together. I could feel emptiness here, but I could feel activity going further beyond that and around the sides of that picture. And I marked most of it empty, so if anything, that was the field in front of the castle, and if I felt anything, I would believe that the castle would show up somewhere over here. If this was a table that I'm working on, or this table. So if I were to expand out, I would probably feel more if I reached out back there. But you know, that's all part of your abilities and understanding how they work and making them work. Inserting logic that supports the way you think, sort of thing. So next time I will set up another sort of 3D platform and then describe things in a 3D way, not a two-dimensional way like this. So that's a growing thing for me, is to see if I can create a platform and detect things in it. I think that's where this physical skill is going to go. Anyway, paraphysical. Para stands for paraphysical, which means not solid. I've just got cold moments on the arm, so I'm just thinking that it might be wind or something like that. Nothing in particular. Concepts: field, bush, fencing. I had church, home, and buildings. So a few naming ones. Nothing of surprise. Now this one, symbolics is also part of the matrix. So I asked myself to give me a symbol of this picture going forward, and it gave me like 3 structures surrounded by bush on a large land. So I remember this one. If I ever strike something similar like this, symbolics is probably the only one where I try to use it to insert my understanding and have that feedback go back to my subconsciousness and just try and talk to it. Opportunity to frame feedback. So yeah, basically, if it's symbolic to your subconscious and it gives you this, or gives you visuals like this, write it down. It's significant, especially with the intent of you want the subconscious to own this and give me pictures that this consciousness will understand. PR sniffing earlier. I was sniffing a little bit. By the end of it, I wasn't sniffing at all, but I don't know if that was because of me or the session or just nothing. Visuals, I got the ideograms together that I had drawn and tried to draw relative positioning using the ideograms. So I've got a person or the object, which is basically the scene. I've got land in the middle. I've got a hill underneath or motion, but that looks like the ideogram for hill. I've got a structure in front of me, and I got a structure to the left side of me, to the left side. Not the greatest, but you know, I've had better. But you know, it's all practice in the end. The thing is to execute it, but don't expect it to be right. Expect to learn, just to learn from the experience. So the last snapshots for this session was snapshot which looked like a fence or a gate, and they were white, and they were pointing off in different directions, so I was looking like I was pointing into a corner or looking into a corner. And the last visual as well is I drew 2 paths. So this is a path. One door was going this way, and another path was going to this entrance. As far as the final picture goes, when you walk up to the keep or the castle, you've got the big main door. on the right, and you've got the little man-made size for a human or someone who sits in that space at the entrance. You've got those, but hey, long shot, it is what it is, and we will take any understanding we can from our subconscious and make it into something that we can understand going forward. And on that note, this is the session end. Thanks for joining me, guys. So that's the review. I'll hope to have it done better. Overall, I'm pretty happy with what I detected, and it's just a game of practice, really, and finding those excuse me, learning to understand what you feel and what that might be going forward. But anyway, thanks for joining me for this review, and hope you had a good session yourself, and see you on the next one. Okay, see you later.